Welcome back to Northeast Current. My name is Kimberly Pellicano and I'm the Healthy Woman Coordinator for Commonwealth Health. I will be your host for the next segment. I am pretty excited to announce our next upcoming Healthy Woman event, which will be August 1st, called Summer Feet in Summer Heat. And we are actually brought onto the show today who is going to be our guest speaker at the event, Dr. Jennifer Dempsey. Welcome, Dr. Jennifer Dempsey.
Thank you, Kimberly. I'm so excited to be here today.
Dr. Dempsey, we're really appreciative that you've not only come onto the show with us today, but that you're also going to be at our next event. Tell us a little bit about what you do and how you got into that field.
Sure. I'm a podiatrist. I work for Physicians Health Alliance, one of the Commonwealth Health physician groups. I'm a podiatrist. I mainly treat injuries and painful conditions of the foot and ankle. And I actually got into the field through a friend. When I was in college, I had a friend who was in podiatry school, and I knew that I wanted to do something in the medical field, and he suggested checking out podiatry school. So I did, and I spent some time with a podiatrist in Philadelphia, and I really liked it. I thought it was a great career for women, and I applied to school and got in at Temple, and that's how I got into it.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, the reason we have actually asked you, to come here and to come to our event is we know in summertime, with especially with women, we love our shoes. Let's be honest.
We do.
I have somewhere around 30 pairs of shoes at home, and most of the time after I wear, especially a brand new pair of shoes, usually my feet are hurting. I don't think that I buy the right shoes. So we wanted to take the summer and flip-flops and all shoes like that and kind of bring it into an event and help women, find the right shoes to wear to keep their feet healthy. So let's start with flip-flops.
Sure.
Tell me, a little bit about flip-flops. Are they good for you?
Okay. Well, yes, so it's summertime here, and for most women that means a change in shoe gear, and especially into flip-flops. Around the pool or going to the beach, we all love them. However, flip-flops can be a podiatrist's nightmare. There are many problems you can get from flip-flops, and the key is choosing the right type. So I brought a couple examples today. I'll show you the traditional flip-flop, which most of us think of when we think of flip-flops. And if you look at this shoe, it's very, very flat. I can bend it in half. It's very, very flexible. If you look at the arch area, there's no arch support, and there's no back to it. So when you're wearing this shoe, your foot is having to work really hard. For one, to keep the shoe on, you have to grip your toes in order for the straps to stay on your foot. And you also are not getting any arch support. Okay? So people who wear flip-flops a lot or even walk barefoot, a lot of times will have problems with their feet. And what we see is they'll get heel pain or pain in the arch, and you can also get tendinitis in your ankle from trying to keep the shoe on. So this is an example of a flip-flop not to wear, even though this is what we usually see people wearing. Mm-hmm. So instead of this, when you're going shoe shopping for summer shoes, what I would like you to look for is something that resembles this shoe here. So this is, also can be considered a flip-flop. However, it does have a little bit of a heel to it. There's some arch support. If you put your hand in here, you can kind of feel the nice support in the arch area. It also is very stiff. You try to bend this shoe, and it does not bend in the arch area. So when you're standing and walking, your foot's not flattening out so much, and it's giving your plantar fascia, which is a ligament on the bottom of your foot, some support. And then that does not pull on the heel bone, and hopefully you wear a shoe like this and you won't get heel pain.
And that's interesting because I typically wear heels, but I did recently buy a pair of flat shoes, not even flip-flops, but flat shoes, and within probably 2 hours, my feet were killing me. So this is the main reason. So even with flip-flops or regular shoes, we want to look for that arch, and we want to look for the support.
And if you're used to wearing shoes with heels, what happens is your tendons tighten up and they get used to that position. So if you wear heels all the time and then say the weekend you go and throw a pair of flip-flops on, well, your feet are going to be very unhappy because you're stretching ligaments and tendons that are used to being supported with the heel. So you have to be very careful with that.
Just what about kids? I have a
Sure.
little girl, and I will tell you what she wants are those little thin ones, you know, with the flowers on
Yes,
top.
yes.
I'm a little bit concerned because I know that I have, you know, foot pain myself here and there, so I want to make sure that I'm buying for her, you know, appropriate flip-flops.
Right, so for children it's the same. You know, you want to look for something with some support. You want to limit the time that they spend in flip-flops because if your children are out running around in flip-flops, they're more prone to other injuries. You know, they can trip on the flip-flop, they can get injuries to the toenails just because the toes are exposed. And let's face it, kids are outside in the summer, they're running around, they're not paying attention. It's much better for them to have sneakers on. Something with more support, something a little bit safer so that they're not tripping and falling, especially if they're riding their bikes or their scooters. It can be very dangerous to be wearing flip-flops a lot.
You know, what kind of things can happen? Can they end up with, you know, markings on their foot?
Sure. I mean, with children, you have to watch the size and the shape of their foot and what you're trying to put on them. So you want to put, you know, a shoe that's wide enough for them, make sure it fits them well, it's not too big. You know, kids go through growth spurts and you have to kind of watch, you know, is their shoe no longer fitting them? You know, make sure that the size is appropriate. And also the width, because you will see kids that have wider feet than others, and if you're trying to, you know, put a wide foot into a narrow shoe, they're going to get blisters and you can get infections and things like that. So the size is really important, the type of shoe is important to keep them, you know, healthy and safe, for sure.
Well, that's good advice. I appreciate that, and I will definitely do the best I can to convince her otherwise. So tell us, what other kinds of shoes and examples of shoes can you give us for people like me who just like to wear heels all the time?
Okay, so for heels, I'll go to the wedges. All right, so it's the summer, like we said.
I love my wedges.
Everyone loves wedges. They're so cute. This is an example of what you don't want to look for in a wedge.
No.
Okay, well, and I'll tell you a couple reasons why. If you can see the bottom of the wedge, it's very, very narrow, okay, in the heel area. So when you're standing and walking, it can be very wobbly. So this type of shoe makes you prone to ankle sprains. You have to work really hard to keep this type of shoe on your foot. Because if you're walking really fast and you're hustling and you're not paying attention, you can easily turn your ankle. And then another thing with this wedge, I would say the height is a little bit too high. You know, I would probably bring it down an inch or two just to make it a little bit, you know, safer. Again, there are people that can wear 4- and 5-inch heels every day and not have any problems, and that's great. Most of us cannot. So too narrow on the bottom, the height is a little bit too high, and there's no strap on the back. So again, this is not giving you any support in the ankle, makes it very wobbly, and you're prone to injury with this type of wedge. Luckily, they make cute wedges that are a little bit easier to walk in. So if you look at this wedge here, take a look at the bottom. It's a lot wider on the bottom, so it gives you much more stability. You're much less likely to turn your ankle wearing something like this. You know, you still do have a good bit of height here, and it's stiff in through the arch area. So in through here, if you try to bend the shoe, you cannot bend it at all, which is really good. Gives you lots of support in the arch. And there's a nice strap along the back of the heel, which gives you some support in the ankle. And you're not having to grip your toes and work really hard to keep this type of shoe on. And the other thing with this that I like is the strap has a little bit of elastic in it, which is nice, helps with fit because sometimes you don't have the same size foot on each side. You might be a millimeter or two bigger on one or the other, and in this type of shoe that can compensate for that.
I think this is good news because honestly, I think you don't have to worry about actually going and spending $1 million on shoes. You can just have this information, go to the shoe store and just choose a little bit more wise.
Yes, you know, so many patients come in and say, oh, I buy the best shoes, I spend so much money on them, and I try to say to them, well, they can be very expensive shoes, but that doesn't mean they're necessarily a good shoe for you. So there are specific things you want to look for, make sure the shoe has some good support, and that doesn't matter how much it costs.
Okay, so this is fantastic news. I want to go back to the flats again. We were talking about the curled up shoes. You know, I haven't bought a pair. It's tempting, so tell me why I should not. Tell me about them.
So these are ballet flats, and if you look around, everyone's wearing them. They're very popular, they're very cute. The problem is they're not good for your feet. Something like this can lead to, like we talked about before, plantar fasciitis, tendinitis, things like that, because there's no support. So these are those, curled up little flats that you can throw in your purse that people bring everywhere thinking, okay, I'll get out of my heels, I'll put my flats on, my feet will feel great. Well, the problem with these shoes is that, again, there's no heel. So you're just walking on a very flat surface. There's no arch support whatsoever. It's very, very flexible. So you're really straining your foot a lot when you wear these. So, good news is there is an alternative to the real flat, flexible shoes. So what you want to look for is something more like this, okay?
It looks stable.
Yes, there's more stability in it. However, it still has the appearance of a flat. So what this has that I like is a nice heel, all right? It has a little bit of a rubber sole for shock absorption, which the other flat does not. There's also some arch support built in. And you try to bend this shoe and it does not bend in the arch area, which is good. And I also brought along a little arch pad that you can put into the shoe to augment the arch area if you need to. Not everyone would need to, but people with higher arches might feel a little bit better with a little bit more support.
Great. Well, we're really excited. August 1st, 4:30 at the Regional the Regional Surgery Center.
Yes.
We're going to have you there to talk more about shoes, about summer feet and summer heat, and we'll have vendors. We're going to have a barbecue. We're going to have a lot of stuff for the women, massage, everything. So we're excited. Thank you so much for coming on, and we'll see you on August 1st.
Great.
We would like to thank Dr. Jennifer Dempsey for coming down and giving us some great advice about summer shoes. We look forward to seeing her at the event, and I am Kimberly Pellicano from Northeast Current.